All right, I'm trying to figure out some stuff here. Good morning, everybody. I know it was silent the whole time that I was upstairs making coffee, so yeah, that's my fault. Anyway, how are we doing, everybody? Let me get the right picture up here in a second. Little behind the time this morning. Let's see here. There we go, and there's my face. Hi, good morning. Happy Monday, happy day after Christmas. Belated Christmas greetings to everybody, as Big Joe mentioned down there. Normally you don't have a whole lot of news after a holiday, especially when a holiday's on the weekend, but boy, there is a bunch of stuff. Is that music too loud? Probably. Anyway, we're gonna go through some stuff. Plus, the latest Twitter files dropped, and that's interesting. Oh, that's what I did wrong on there. No wonder my locals wouldn't start. Let's try this. I didn't get that notification out because I couldn't log into locals, and now it's telling me I have the wrong damn password. Oh, I see. Anyway, so we're gonna catch up on some news over the weekend. When I say Christmas hangover, it doesn't mean that I'm hungover. I didn't even drink over the weekend. Well, yes, I did. We did a really nice cocktail, actually. One. I only had one, though. A sort of martini-type drink. We'll talk about that after the intro. We'll catch up with some news after the intro. We'll talk about the new Fauci files, Twitter files drop after the intro, which I'm not going to get into too much detail because there's stuff on there that's probably can't say on YouTube, so we might have to do an exclusive Rumble thing this afternoon. But we'll do all that after the normal intro, which is about to happen right now. Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, coming to you live from the Lucky Dog studio in a hidden location somewhere in the upper Midwest of the United States of America, it's a brother making his own way but with all the wrong opinions. Welcome to the Morning Night Live with your host, the one and only Dawg Knight.
Yes, and away we go. Still in the Christmas room today. Stop the music. Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Night Live. I'm your host, Marty, also known as Dawg Knight on the internet. And welcome back to the Dawg Knight Channel, where for some reason I cannot log in to one of my sites here. And I'm having trouble, and maybe, oh my gosh, what the hell is going on? Is it because I spelled my name wrong? Dawg Knight. Yeah, that's right. All right, let's see. Did I do this wrong? What the bloody hell? It's not cooperating. Oh, there we go. Okay. Anyway, how are y'all doing today? I hope you had a wonderful holiday. If you celebrate Christmas, I hope you had a good one. If you don't celebrate Christmas, I still hope you had a good weekend. And it's Monday, the 26th of December, 2022, the day after Christmas on the Morning Night Live. And I am so happy to see you here. Let me post this real quick, which I'm failing on this. I'm going to get better at this locals thing. I actually want to do a stream this afternoon on locals if I can, but I know not a lot of you don't follow me there. So make sure you follow me on locals. Even if you're just going to, follow and not, be a supporter, that's fine. At least you can watch the streams that we do over there, and we, as in me, and sometimes Lady Boomer. I might actually move the Saturday Trail Stop streams there, just because I won't get granted, I don't get monetized on those anyway, because they keep, every time there's music in the background, it messes things up. But what the hell's in here? I got to change this too. But also just because they're such casual streams, they're not really, what's the word? They're not really, what's the word? They're not really like, there's a word. What is this word I'm trying to think of? Germane. They're not necessarily germane to what I do for the rest of the channel. They're fun, and I know y'all enjoy Left Shoulder being out here and stuff, but they're not really. I don't know. Maybe we'll have to ask people who watch those if I should just leave them on YouTube. They're fun though. I enjoy hanging out and just being. Hang on a second. There we go. There. Now I fixed that. There we go. Bang. Hopefully people who follow me on Locals will see this. I don't know. They're fun. I'm just babbling now. Anyway, let's say good morning to everybody and get to the show, because there's a lot of news to catch up on, plus that new Twitter dump on the Fauci files. There's already a big Twitter Spaces going on as that dropped. It dropped this morning. And like I said, we can go through a little bit of it, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because I'm going to actually go through the whole thing this afternoon. Maybe and bring in a couple guests and see what happens there. But for now, let's say good morning to the people in the chat. First on Rumble. First in the chat today was Simon Wolfwood, who gets the bell. Also, good morning to Mike Savage, Blarg, Advocatus Diabli, Jimmy Das Hotep, and that's everybody over on Rumble. If you're on watch and then on YouTube, let's who was first here on YouTube? That would have been Simon Wolfwood there too. Gets the bell. Also, Advocatus Diabli, Mike Savage, Blarg, Tyrannus, Alexandria Tremere Lich. Good morning, Tyre Alexander. Good morning also to, let's see, you guys. Okay, Unacceptable Views is going. Good morning, sir. Good morning, Rotten Corpse. Tex AG 007. And good morning, Big Dro. Already said hi. Jess Phillips, the greatest son-in-law on the planet. And also, good morning, Infamous One, Johnny Hellcat, the original viewer of the Morning Night Live. Hey, Camel, who was number 2 on the show. Happy Boxing Day, everybody. This is the one day of the year that's acceptable to give your loved ones the old 2-piece and a biscuit. Make it count. LOL. Yeah, that's deserves one of those. And good morning, Keenan. Hopefully more people roll in. Please share the stream if you have people. Oh, what the hell is that? What? Neighborhood alert near St. Paul. Anybody's kitty. Someone lost a cat. Oh my gosh. My ring send. So I have this. We have this Ring doorbell and the cameras and shit around our house, and we get alerts everyone. Neighborhood alerts. People lose pets or people lose their dog or some shit, and they come and we always try to see, who's at the door, and I open up and someone has a lost cat that's 4.5 miles away. It's like, I don't think it's here, but anyway, I do got my Christmas coffee, at least the mug's Christmas. It's after Christmas. Actually, technically, that this is the second day of Christmas, right? The first day of Christmas, or is this the first day? I don't even know. Is this the first? Do you count this as the first day of Christmas or the second day of Christmas? Because oh no, this is a travel. So I don't think the wise men discovered the baby yet. I don't know. I think it's the first day of Christmas. Partridge in a pear tree. Second day of Christmas. 3 look at me. 2 French. 3 turtle. Wait. What's 2? I don't even know. I don't know. Anyway, did I say hi to everybody? I did. Okay, let's get into some news. Just most of the stuff I have today either happened Friday or over the weekend. And again, I did mention that we have the new Twitter files dump. This is the one about how Twitter handled the stupid COVID-19 information. So this is very interesting. We call it, the nickname the Fauci files, although it's really more about how government was attempting to push Twitter to censor certain views, and Twitter took it upon themselves to censor for certain views, and it's very interesting. And the reason I can't necessarily spend a lot of time on it here is because I don't know how YouTube will treat it. See, on Twitter, you can talk about this stuff without any repercussions, but on YouTube, they're very, very, very sensitive about this still kind of on that. It's funny because there's so many different opinions from the people who are supposed to be in the know. The CDC keeps changing their mind, but so it's hard to even know what you can and can't say. And YouTube still is pretty censorious when it comes to talking about COVID-19. So you have to be very careful. And so we'll go through a little bit of it at the end of the show today, but I'm not going to spend time on it. I'll probably do the full Twitter thread this afternoon on a separate show. So if you happen to be around this afternoon, well, afternoon my time, obviously for Mike Savage, that'll be late in the evening. For some people, it'll be earlier in the morning. Some people, it'll be, well, at a time that they can watch they normally can't watch. Like, some of my friends down under who, some of you come here early in the morning, but some just watch replays, which is great. I appreciate that too. So, some of the my Aussie contingent's really, really, really good about watching replays. But anyway, so let's get into just a few things I picked out today. This one is interesting from the weekend. Actually, it was from December 24th, that's the weekend. Sweden. Now, this is a topic I'd like to talk about the gender affirming care that, as the Rachel Levine and President Biden like to talk about lately a lot, and it's big in the news. Well, Sweden has made a pretty significant decision in the area of gender affirming care. This from the Daily Wire. There we go. This from the Daily Wire. Sweden's new pediatric treatment guidelines are ditching gender affirming medication and are going to substitute psychotherapy again. They're going to go back to getting way more information, which used to be the World Professional Association for Transgender Health's policy. And unfortunately, in the United States, they don't even follow that. But anyway, Sweden published new treatment guidelines that abandon the model of care that affirms a child's chosen transgender identity with medication. I don't know if this is as much a social phenomenon in every country in Europe, but how it is here, that you just constantly hear about it. And it may not even be, when they're going into classrooms and finding that half of the girls are claiming to be some form of transgender, be it they be boys or non-binary or whatever, that is a social contagion. That is a attention-seeking thing. That's not real. I mean, and I'm sorry to people who believe that's real. It's not. There's no way that could be. This is a social phenomenon, and so Sweden's going to start treating it as, they're just going to get more information before they start doing the crazy stuff you're hearing about. The Swedish National Board of Health and Welfare published new treatment guidelines for youth with gender dysphoria last week that explicitly instructs medical providers that psychosocial support should be the first line of treatment. The updated guidelines follow a 2021 policy change that jettisoned the use of puberty blockers and cross-sex hormones to treat gender dysphoric youths. No sound. Oh, that was a long time ago. Good morning, Simic Magic, by the way. And Jethro Hetero. That treat gender dysphoric youth outside of a clinical research setting. Psychosocial support that helps the young person live with the body's pubertal development without medication needs to be the first option when choosing care measures. Oh, how about that? The guidelines read according to Society for Evidence-Based Gender Medicine. The MBHW, again, that's the Swedish National Board of Health and Welfare, deems that the risk of puberty-suppressing treatment with GnRH analogs and gender-affirming hormonal treatment currently outweigh the possible benefits, and that the treatment should be offered only in exceptional cases. Wow. Isn't that what most of the people who talk about this in the United States, like who are against these treatments that they're starting to use like candy whenever some kid says, I think I'm a boy or I think I'm a girl. Isn't that all we're asking for them to just take some time to maybe spend some time with that kid and go, hey, everyone has difficulties with with puberty. Is this just a thing? Is this are you just reading too much Tumblr? I don't know. So anyway, Sweden seemed to dismiss the West's preference for gender identity ideology, a set of beliefs that are not recognized by science. For gender dysphoria, a well-documented psychiatric condition, the NBWA or HW still considers that gender dysphoria, rather than gender identity, should determine access to care and treatment. Gosh, they're actually making sense here. The update is a marked detour from Sweden's prior 2015 guidelines that relied on the World Professional Association of Transgender Health's Standards of Care 7, parting ways with the gender-affirming model for a more cautious approach that emphasizes the importance of psychotherapy. So here's the thing, and we've talked about this. I talk about this all the time. I don't know why. Maybe not everybody does, but because as they're finding out that most of these kids grow out of the gender identity thing. The gender identity thing, especially in the States, is just a great way to get attention, to be protected from by teachers, to be celebrated, to be praised. And I think a lot of kids are figuring that out, and they're just eating it up. So it's cool to be something different now, you know? So interesting. Data breach at Twitter. Hacker blackmailing Musk for $5 million be done for the hacker to release. Too many powerful people would hunt him down. Oh, I didn't see that. I'll have to look that one up. Thanks, Mike. So anyway, the three key reasons listed for the changes were lack of reliable scientific evidence, evidence of transition, and unexplained sharp rise in prevalence of youth gender dysphoria, especially in adolescent girls without prior history of gender distress, also known as, what do they call it? What is it? Quick onset gender dysphoria, whatever, or yeah. That's not the exact name, but I know it's something like that. So yeah, this is now let's see. The society, I'm going to skip down here. The Society for Evidence-Based Gender Medicine gave a preliminary analysis of the 6-page English summary and is currently translating the full document for a more detailed analysis. Sweden, along with health authorities in Finland and the UK, are part of a growing international consensus that minors experiencing gender dysphoria should be treated with psychotherapy first, not medical interventions. Now, you know, what's funny about that? Because, you know, in the States, we're starting to hear, you know, even Rachel Levine saying, oh, this is life-saving treatments. But it's not. We clearly know that the ideation of self-harm doesn't change with transition, either socially or especially chemically or physically, surgically. And what's happening is a lot of these kids who are going through this and they put them on puberty blockers. Well, now once you put someone on puberty blockers, the transition becomes easier. And I don't mean as simple for the kid, but easier to. Let's put it this way: they don't come back from it if you put them on puberty blockers. Whereas if you just let them go through puberty, often they will desist from that, from that thing. So anyway. Unfortunately, though, in the United States, where the broadening definition of what it means to be transgender is determined by gender identity ideology rather than persistent gender dysphoria, more children are in danger of becoming lifelong medical patients, which it makes you wonder, is that a goal? Is that a goal, or is that just an effect, Because, some of these hospitals, as we saw with the things that we're starting to see some of these conference videos and things where they're saying, hey, this is a new growth model for hospitals, but at what cost? So there's a little bit more to that article. If you want to read it, it'll be in the links. Remember, all the articles that I go through today will be in the links in the description on both YouTube and on Rumble. At the end of the show, I'll update those during the outro. So that'll be one of the ones. It's called a one-tab link. You click one link, and it'll take you one page that has all of the articles that we go through today. So, all right, let's move on. It's going to be kind of a hodgepodge of topics today. Now, the last Twitter drop from just before the weekend. We'll talk a little bit about that. There's a Daily Wire summary on here. Twitter was in contact with multiple government agencies. Ex-FBI lawyer was surprised by FBI actions. Feds sought action on foreign narratives in Ukraine and COVID. Journalist Matt Taibbi released a new installment of the Twitter Files Saturday afternoon that showed that the FBI was not the only government agency that was in contact with Twitter about content on the platform. Jeez, they put a lot of resources into people scouring Twitter for info. That is so weird. Oh, good morning, Selected Boy.
Yeah, boy.
Nice to see you. Taibbi said that the State Department, Department of Defense, and Central Intelligence Agency were also involved in contacting the platform about potential foreign propaganda on the platform. Internal company emails show that the FBI agent Elvis Chan asked Twitter executives if he could invite an OGA, also known as an other government agency, to the upcoming conference. The email referred to Twitter employees whose name was redacted, or a Twitter employee's name was redacted, and said that the people from the employee's former employer, which Twitter executive acknowledged meant the CIA. So they had not only for a lot of former FBI agents working at Twitter, and representatives, they also had some CIA people. Now, it makes you wonder. Now, I'm just stopping from the article here for a second. It makes you wonder if you've heard about, for example, Operation Mockingbird in the 60s, where this federal government was paying certain journalists and journalism outlets to basically run government propaganda. They wanted one narrative, and that's what they were paying these people to do. So they were reporting this basically, like I said, straight up government propaganda. We're getting a whole new ideation of Operation Mockingbird here, where they're sending it. Now it's funny because is there really any such thing as a former CIA operative? What's funny about this too, as I was listening to this for a short time while I was preparing food on Saturday, and one of these Twitter spaces came open, and there was about 10,000 people listening to it. And there was a point where the Twitter space started acting up, like having technical difficulties, like people were being logged out in the middle of talking and whatever as they're reading this particular thread. And so one of the hosts, they closed that one, and they opened another different host, opened another one. And about 10 minutes into it, the same thing started happening. The people were getting logged out, people were getting cut off and whatever. And so this happened 4 times. And finally on the 4th try, they actually were able to stay on, but I don't think they were reading from the thread anymore. And it was kind of funny because it's almost like there's a couple operatives still working for Twitter that they need to weed out, because none of the other, there was a bunch of other spaces going on that day, and none of them were having the same technical difficulties. So it was clearly this particular topic that seemed to be, this is a conspiracy theory, seemed to be being taken down over and over. So anyway, so they moved on. So let's see. One of Twitter's head lawyers said in internal company communications that the fact that employees used to work for the CIA was supposed to be a secret. Oh, they figured it out though. But the government was in constant contact with not just Twitter, but with virtually every major tech firm, Taibbi said. These included Facebook, Microsoft, Verizon, Reddit, and even Pinterest. So even on Pinterest, they were monitoring stuff. And many others, industry players, also held regular meetings without government. The new Twitter file release also showed that FBI officials helped put that company in contact with local law enforcement officials to deal with issues. Taibbi said the FBI was clearly tailoring its searches on the platform to look for potential content violations that Twitter could take action on. So, and then ex-FBI lawyer Jim Baker, who was involved in a lot of controversy surrounding his involvement in different investigations into former President Donald Trump, even thought that the FBI's actions were strange. Odd that they are searching for violations of our policies, Baker said in an email. So when they were talking to each other with internal Twitter emails, even Jim Baker, the former FBI general counsel who was working for Twitter at the time, in theory, thought it was weird that they had 80 FBI agents, CIA agents, other government agencies in there scrolling through Twitter trying to find content violations of people that they didn't want to be speaking. So it's really weird. It's really weird. Anyway, good morning, Maddie, and good morning, Chicago Mike. How you doing? So anyway, they had a foreign influence task force flagged the fringiest conspiracy theories about the 2020 presidential election to the social media company. A lot of them were jokes. Foreign meddling had been, the Twitter files showed that Twitter was at times under pressure to take down accounts or take action on accounts that federal law enforcement claimed were tied to foreign governments, even though it didn't have enough evidence to come to the same conclusion as those law enforcement agencies. So basically, they were there was a certain group of government monitors who were trying to flag what they thought were foreign agents talking on Twitter. Now, Twitter did not have that evidence, maybe IP. Now, of course, with those, what are those things that block your IP address or make it look like you're from another country? Anyway, Twitter didn't have evidence that these files were coming from another country. So, but this is a long summary, so I'm not going to go through it. You can read that one yourself too. But just the fact that they've had multiple government agencies spending time scanning Twitter and trying to find possible violations is just weird. It's just weird. VPN, thank you, Advocate Diabli. All right, let's do this. Moving on. And now, here's an editorial in PJ Media of why you need to start paying attention to the Twitter files. The Twitter files, this is an article to show your haughty know-it-all brother-in-law who thinks our government is somehow squeaky clean. And I pulled this up because I think if you have people that say, that's just bullshit, there's nothing going on. Well, here it is. The Twitter files have now officially had more sequels than Planet of the Apes and can be difficult to absorb. Thus, I don't think they're getting the attention they deserve. Oh, the media is ignoring them completely. It's crazy. The media is ignoring them, and maybe to their detriment. By the way, I'll get to that in a minute. For those who are not following the Twitter files drop, let me catch you up on what are some of the most important parts. One, the FBI paid Twitter $3.5 million to censor conservatives. Now, it wasn't all conservatives, but it was mostly conservatives. Anyone who did not follow the government narrative on certain things. Also, number two, the FBI pressured Twitter to give them information that would legally require warrants, though they did not have warrants. Got a warrant for that? No, they didn't even ask. They just gave it away. Number three, leading up to the 2020 election, the FBI would eventually hold weekly meetings with Twitter and tell them whose tweets to squelch and which accounts they wanted to be suspended. Almost all of those were conservatives because it was. And there was also certain Democratic organizations. But what's interesting about that is that there really were no Republicans or anyone from a certain side of the aisle that were making these requests. These were all coming from either the FBI, who clearly had an agenda when it came to the former president of the United States, or it came from people who just don't like people on the right. Anyway, number four, the FBI knew the Hunter Biden laptop story was real. They knew it was coming out weeks before the 2020 election, and they told Big Tech to expect a Russian disinformation drop and squelch the story. That means the FBI corrupted the so I almost said it out loud. To help the Joe totally showered with his daughter, Ashley Biden. That was okay. So I'm sorry. He wrote this as Joe, quote, totally showered with his daughter, Ashley, end quote, Biden. That's his middle name, I guess. And there are so many FBI employees at Twitter that they had their own Slack channel, meaning their own internal communication channel of just former FBI employees. Hilarious. Now, they add a little factorama here. Hunter Biden's laptop proves beyond a doubt that the Biden family took tens of millions of dollars from Chinese companies linked to the commies for no discernible work. The FBI pressured big tech firms to downplay the story, even making it unshareable, even though the FBI knew the laptop was real. Yes, because they had had it since August of 2019. The commie bumbleakers at Twitter were happy to play along, even going so far as to suspend the account of the New York Post for releasing the laptop story. Now, technically, they didn't suspend the account. They just made it unusable until the New York Post agreed to take down the offending tweet showing the story that they had researched and wrote and posted in their 200-year-old newspaper. One of the oldest newspapers in the country. Yes, they got their Twitter file deactivated for a temporary time until Twitter, the experts, the 24 and 25-year-old foreign policy experts at Twitter, said they had to take it down. You take that down, or we're not letting you use your account. Anyway, in response to the Twitter files detailing how the FBI Twitter circle jerk was real, the Bureau called the allegations a conspiracy theory. Well, of course they would. That is just par for the course. But never actually denied its relationship with Twitter. So, Elon Musk provided the world with an early Christmas present on Saturday with the Twitter Files Part 9. Here's the summary so you can avoid the Twitter mess. So this is even a better summary than mine, so let's go through this. The FBI was portal, specifically the San Francisco office, for other government agencies to get to Twitter to surveil and censor Americans. Hiding under the title of Foreign Influence Task Force, the FITF, actors from local police departments to the Department of Defense and the CIA were watching and censoring Americans, not foreigners. Now, I have to be careful. They were requesting that Twitter censor Americans. They weren't censoring themselves, as some of the sycophants will tell you. Well, they didn't censor them. They just made requests. And Twitter complied. Twitter wasn't the only big tech firm hip deep in spooks. Now, that's a name for former spies and whatever. It's not a racial thing. The feds had their fingers in Verizon, Reddit, Facebook, Microsoft, and for some reason, Pinterest, where people show you how to make pretty charcuterie boards and decorate your hallway. As the 2020 election neared, the FBI and FITF, again, the Foreign Influence Task Force, assailed Twitter with hundreds of requests to censor Twitter accounts and tweets. There were so many requests that Twitter execs had to come up with a system to prioritize them. FBI employees were tasked with doing word searches on Twitter for looking for violations of Twitter policies instead of chasing actual criminals. The FBI had 80 agents doing this. Unbelievable. 80 agents working with big tech companies. It's unclear how many members were the Department of Defense, the CIA, etc., were involved. So what have we learned? We've learned that the FBI is not the only government agency censoring and surveilling Americans. Twitter was, again, for the people who are saying, they didn't censor them, they just asked them to take down misinformation. Anyway, I'll just say they were censoring Americans. Twitter was a veritable pig pile when it comes to spying on we the people. The DOD, CIA, and even local police had their fingers in the pie, and Twitter was only one of the pies. Other big tech firms, including Facebook and Verizon, that's a cell phone carrier. Yeah, your cell phone company. Now, what was the cell phone company doing? Anyway, we're in on the game. Big Brother is watching. We are being spied on and frequently silenced. Well, at least those of us who speak out against the Stalin-like censoring and surveilling of Americans. So there you go. And they want to continue it. So good morning, Jaeger Pony, my favorite Canadians in the house. What's up? All right. Next is now. Okay, hang on. Now, I don't want to be, what's a good word for this? Schadenfreude-esque. However, the next article makes you wonder how this is all going. Now, lots of companies lost money over the last several years, but big tech, big tech has lost a lot of money. Big tech collectively lost 7.4 trillion. That's with a TR, trillion in 2022. Now, I've got to clarify this. Probably most of this is in market cap. Okay, not like they didn't lose actual dollars. They didn't spend that much money in profit and loss, but they lost in market cap. This year has seen big tech hemorrhage money like never before, forcing massive headline grabbing job cuts. Oh, I am so sad. Not a single one of the top 15 tech companies in the United States made a profit in 2022. That's surprising. And so even amongst the tech industry's big five, Amazon, Meta, Alphabet, Apple, and Microsoft, only Google's parent company, Alphabet, managed to avoid any layoffs, although there are fears that job losses are on the horizon. These enormous revenue losses and mass layoffs have forced tech executives to come forward with an apology and admit they made a mistake. Meta, Facebook's parent company, was an unstoppable force dominating the social media market and consistently delivering stellar returns to investors. Then, after spending billions of dollars on the largely failing metaverse project and forcing revenue to nosedive, CEO Mark Zuckerberg was forced to lay off around 11,000 employees and admit, I got this wrong and I take responsibility for that. So that's pretty wild. We've heard about how Twitter, they dumped probably 2/3 of their workforce. But did you know that Facebook got rid of that many people too? Amazon. Now this is the one that really shocks me. Amazon lost more. This is market value because this is stock prices. Amazon lost more than $1 trillion in market value in 2022, becoming the world's first public company to hit that unfathomable number, according to Bloomberg, resulting in the slashing of 10,000 jobs. Now, again, that's market value. I don't think as a company Amazon lost any money. I'm pretty confident they didn't, but they did lose all that much in market cap. Microsoft was not far behind, reporting losses of $889 billion and layoffs of almost 8,000 employees. Apple didn't announce the same kind of massive layoffs as its peers, but as a result of a company-wide hiring freeze, cut around 100 recruiter jobs. Well, that's not that big a deal. One of the highest profile layoffs events of the year was at Twitter, which under leadership of Elon Musk cut just over 3,500 jobs. Not a significant number in the grand scheme of things, but quite a big deal when you take into account it was around half the company's employees. Well, they've laid off more since then. Musk has stated multiple times that Twitter is potentially on the road to bankruptcy. Tech companies on the whole laid off around 210,000 employees. Almost half of those within the fourth quarter. As an industry that has always placed innovation above all else, it is hoped that next year will bring some good news for the big guns. Well, maybe they just need to thin out the herds. I don't know. I'm fortunate. My son is a tech guy, but he doesn't work for a tech company, so I'm glad his job is secure. He's been doing quite well. Moving on. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, like I said, this is a hodgepodge thing, so we're just going to go through several things. The EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, the brainchild of former President Richard Nixon, has a new regulation on truckers. This is not good. Article in the Daily Caller here, and it could really hurt the trucking industry. The Environmental Protection Agency finalized a rule on Tuesday that would impose stricter nitrogen dioxide emission standards on new heavy-duty trucks, a move that will substantially hike the operating costs for truckers, experts, and the industry representatives told the Daily Caller News Foundation. The EPA's rule, which is more than 80% stricter than the previous regulation, will require large trucks, delivery vans, and buses manufactured after 2027 to cut nitrogen dioxide emissions by nearly 50% by 2045, according to an agency press release. Now, so look... This means at least it's not going to have an immediate impact if it's not. This is by 2045, and trucks and buses after 2027, but that means those industries that produce those vehicles are going to have to come up with something. The agency's rule is intended to push truckers to phase out diesel-powered vehicles and use electric vehicles instead. However, the compliance costs associated with such rules could suffocate an industry that is not ready to transition to EVs, experts told the Daily Caller News Foundation. Now, oh my God, this electric truck nonsense. Now, granted, there is one company that is already attempting to lead the way in this electric truck technology. And that would be, who could that be? Could that be Tesla? Remember, Tesla's rolled out their electric powered trucks for fleets. And actually Pepsi, I think, put in the first huge order for that. But I got to wonder, can you imagine how much energy it takes to power up one of those trucks and how long it would take to do that? Prime 2 day is going to be 10-day shipping. Yeah, that's funny. It's always the trucking industry that gets it hit the worst. Yeah, it's crazy. I don't even know how they, look, are there any other, maybe anyone who knows anything about trucking, are there any other companies that are even pushing their electric vehicle, technologies for big trucks? Because again, first of all, they're terrible in cold weather. Their batteries have about half a life they normally would. They're really going to have to come up with something. Now, one thing they could do, it doesn't necessarily have to be electric vehicles, if they could come up with some kind of a hydrogen technology or some other technology. But again, none of those are on the horizon. They still haven't, the hydrogen vehicles that they're starting to try to develop are not, Maddie says it right. There isn't a practical use for electric semis. It would take too much to keep them on the road, and the strain on the grid would be too much. Yeah, the immense amount of power. Look, 5 million people in the United States were without power as of Friday because of the cold front that came through the United States. And in fact, I think I have a story about that. How are you going to power all those vehicles? The one thing about diesel, as long as you keep it warm enough to be liquid, is that it's plentiful. I mean, not plentiful. Obviously, the reserves are down, but you're not going to be able to. You can just fill it up. If you don't have a power source, you can still fill up a diesel truck with, somehow. I don't know. This is crazy. So they got the manufacturers have until 2027 to cut the nitrogen dioxide emissions by nearly 50%. Oh, wait. No, this is real rule. The rule, which is more than 80% stricter than previous regulation, will require large trucks, delivery vans, and buses manufactured after 2027 to cut nitrogen dioxide emissions by nearly 50% by 2045. So they're going to give them another 18 years to meet the goal. We'll see what happens. I think you're just going to see more older trucks on the roads. It's really weird. So anyway, if you want to get the details of that article, will also be in the links. Let's move on. This is what I don't know I can read on here. This is, they keep talking about the insurrection. Oh, that's kind of quiet. Oh, I have it on the wrong one. That's why. Let's try this again. Insurrection. Article in the American Thinker, there certainly was an insurrection, but it wasn't by Trump. This is a tough one. Hi, Ken Lee. What's up? Infamous one. What's up? I see a couple of new people dropped in. Welcome. This is not one current. There's not one current electric truck out that could handle production or the need. Nope. Even Tesla hasn't delivered. I'm from the trucking industry and couldn't wait to get out with regulations on the horizon. Look, trains, trucks, buses, panel vans. Now, a lot of those, like the vans they're talking about, a lot of the vans are gas powered, but the trucks, they're too important to our economy and moving things, trucks and trains in particular. And they are really, really trying to put screws to them. It's almost like they want us to fail. I don't get it. And there isn't I don't care how good Tesla's technology is. It's not practical. Anyone know how long it takes to charge a Tesla on something other than a Tesla charger, and the amount of electricity it takes, and like you said, the electric grid isn't going to be able to hold it. In California, they've got this rule that by 2035, I think, everything has to be electric powered or whatever, or they can't. No more gas powered vehicles can be manufactured for California. California has rolling blackouts. The more electric cars you do, the more you're not gonna be able to charge them. It's just insane. I forgot to turn this back on. Gunfox61. Thank you for sponsoring the show. And Gunfox61, you are the new Streamlab Superstar sponsor of the day. Thank you very much. Who has given me an article. Oh, you know what? I saw this on you put this on the Discord. Yeah, I saw this one. We'll read an opinion piece at the end of the show today. This will be good. By the way, I started late, so I'm going to be going a little bit later today, as I don't think I don't have to be anywhere after the show. Anyway, let's go back to this article in American Thinker that you're going to have to read most of it yourself. But it's an interesting article. It's called "There Certainly Was an Insurrection, but Not by Trump." Beginning January 6, 2021, the government media deep state cabal sharply pivoted from accusing President Donald Trump of colluding with the Russians to steal the 2016 presidential election to incitement of insurrection, a charge for which he was impeached a second time, and now the farcical January 6th committee is recommending criminal charges. Now, here's the definition of insurrection from the Encyclopedia Britannica. Good morning, by the way, Gunfox, and we will definitely, I saw that article. I was just laughing at it a little bit. California bans gas-powered cars by 2030. Yeah, they cannot be sold. Okay, 2030, I thought it was 2035. Now, by the way, I have some electric power tools, like for yard tools. I love those. They're great, but I do prefer my gas-powered snowblower and my gas-powered lawnmower because they're just easier. You don't have to, you don't have to buy 17 batteries. I can buy 5 gallons of gas and last me the whole summer. Anyway, all right, let's go back to this. So here's how Britannica defines insurrection. And let me see if this describes what happened on January 6th. An organized and usually violent act of revolt or rebellion against an established government or governing authority of the nation state or other political entity by a group of its citizens or subjects. Now, I don't know that I would call the January 6th nonsense organized. In fact, it was very unorganized, although there might have been some organized elements in the background that they don't want to talk about. I don't know. I'm not going to bring up any more conspiracy theories, but it almost seems that some of those, the Charlie Indigo Alpha and Freddie Bobby in Ingrid, it could have been hanging around. There's a lot of people could have hung out there. But anyway, so as for Trump's supposed role in his January 6th speech, he promoted First Amendment protections of, quote, freedom of speech and assembly, end quote, and, quote, the right to petition the government for redress of grievances, end quote. Here are his exact words, quote, "I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard," end of quote. Now, it's so funny when you see the news media show that particular sentence. They always seem to cut it off this way. "I know that everyone here will be soon marching over to the Capitol." And they cut it off. Not the "to peacefully and patriotic make your voices heard." Then he also went further, tweeting, quote, I am asking for everybody at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. No violence! ! Now, how exactly is that a call for violent overthrow of the government? I don't know. So this was not a call for violence, revolt, or rebellion. In fact, President Trump authorized National Guard troops, but only Speaker Pelosi or D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser could order deployment, and neither did. The January 6th Commission seems to just conveniently ignore this. Capitol Police welcomed protesters into the U.S. Capitol building. Well, some did. Now, not at first. Let's not gloss over the fact that there were some knuckleheads breaking some windows and trying to get in. But at other checkpoints, other than that place where they were breaking windows, they were just let in. And in fact, they let them in some of the doors. They let them in through they moved barricades and waved people to the Capitol. I mean, that was weird, saying that if this was an insurrection, why were the authorities, just waving people in? And also, there was a bunch of those people just standing around when people were breaking windows, and some of the protesters who were there were asking the Capitol Police themselves, hey, why are you letting them just hurt our Capitol building? Why are you letting them break windows? Why are you not trying to stop them? That was interesting too. Why were they told to stand down? I don't know. Anyway, there we go. Let me finish this article. So it says Capitol Police welcome protesters inside the U.S. Capitol building, and the only death was at the hands of a Capitol Police officer fatally shooting an unarmed female military veteran. As the FBI admitted with the embedding informants in the January 6th protest, it begs the question of the FBI's role in inciting this so-called insurrection. How did the FBI know to place informants there? It takes months to train and embed informants, suggesting that the FBI knew these protests would happen well in advance, but did nothing to stop or prevent them. Yes. Or did they play a role in creating these protests through their informants? Did the FBI aid and abet this insurrection? Now, questioning or challenging the election results is hardly unusual. Just ask Al Gore, who mounted all sorts of legal and media challenges in 2020. Or Democrats who contested Trump's 2016 Electoral College victory. Were these insurrection? Was Trump behind the insurrection, as Representatives Adam Kinzinger and Liz Cheney insist? Or was the federal government fomenting an insurrection? And was January 6th a part of a long pattern of government insurrections going back decades? Now, recent news suggests an organized and unusually violent act of revolt or rebellion against an established government began long before Trump entered the political sphere. Now, he's speaking of Tucker Carlson's recently discussing possible CIA involvement in President John F. Kennedy's assassination. JFK's nephew, Robert Kennedy Jr., tweeted in response, quote, "The most courageous newscast in 60 years. Now, these guys, remember, Robert Kennedy and Tucker Carlson are not allies. They are very opposite end of the spectrums politically. And yet, Robert Kennedy says, the most courageous newscast in 60 years. The CIA's murder of my uncle was a successful coup d'etat from which our democracy has never recovered. Now, if the CIA was part of this violent revolt against an established government, which altered the course of America, this was the branch of the federal government carrying out an insurrection. This was 6 decades ago, and possible government involvement in violently removing a president remains buried to this day. Even recent CIA Director Mike Pompeo had no comment response to inquiries. Now, flash forward to 2016, when the FBI spied on Trump's campaign, transition, and administration. Using a fabricated dossier, which the FBI knew was false, they swore the opposite to obtain FISA warrants to spy on Trump and his associates from campaign to presidency. All to prevent or overthrow an established government. The definition of insurrection. Is this the FBI's mission? Quote, "We protect the American people and uphold the U.S. Constitution?" End quote. Is that the FBI's mission? Or is it the private state police force of the Democratic Party? Friends to Biden. friends to Biden's interest. What is that? Oh, you got another one. Thank you, Gunfox61. I'll get to that. I haven't heard that one for a while. Is the FBI's mission? Or is it the private police force? Is it the private state police force of the Democratic Party? Friends to Biden's interest? Does the U.S. Constitution have a clause encouraging government agencies to spy on the U.S. president? That's a great question. Now, the Republican Congress, though, did nothing to thwart this effort, abetting congressional investigations into nonsensical Trump-Russia collusion and special counsel, both of which tried, fortunately without success, to remove the dutifully elected president from office. Participation eagerly and willingly in this insurrection was the media, social broadcast, print, knowingly repeating lies, using their broad platform to destroy the Trump presidency. And then when the Hunter Biden laptop surfaced containing bombshells, which could have derailed Joe Biden's presidential aspirations, the FBI, DOJ, DHS, and Department of Defense worked with social media to suppress that news and control the narrative, knowingly and falsely claiming that this was Russian disinformation, as we learned from the recent Twitter releases. There was also can I talk about this? Holy smokes, there's a lot left in this. This goes on and on. I'm going to let you, I'm not going to read the rest. If you want to read the rest, they talk about Seth Rich. They talk about how in part 8 of the Twitter files, many government agencies were talking with Twitter. It's very, very detailed, but I'm going to skip and I'm going to come back to a quick thank you for Gunfox61 for sponsoring the show one more time, dropping another Hamilton in the tip jar and another article. Oh, Lord, what's this one? Hang on. Let's see. I should probably do this first. China stages big military. Oh, Lord, here we go. That's from 6. Oh, that's breaking news. You know what? I'm gonna go to this one right now because this is interesting. I hadn't seen this. So here's one that Gunfox gave me. I'm still going to come back to that other one, but so this is 6 hours old. China stages a big military incursion, according to Taiwan. China is staging one of the biggest incursions so far in the seas and skies around Taiwan, according to data from the island's defense ministry. It said 71 Chinese Air Force planes, including fighter jets and drones, had entered Taiwan's so-called air defense identification zone. Taiwan is self-ruled, but China sees it as a breakaway province with which it will eventually reunite. Tensions between the two sides have steadily increased in recent months. In August, Beijing was enraged by a visit to the island by U.S. Speaker of the House of Representatives Nancy Pelosi, the most senior U.S. politician to visit Taiwan in 25 years. China responded to that visit by holding what was then the biggest ever military exercise in the sea around Taiwan, and also blocked some trade with the island. Taiwan's foreign minister, Joseph Wu, condemned China's action then as highly provocative. China has never said it would not use force to bring Taiwan under its control. On Monday, Taiwan's defense ministry said that 43 Chinese aircraft had crossed over the so-called median line, an unofficial buffer separating the two sides inside the air defense zone. China said it had conducted strike drills around Taiwan on Sunday in response to what it said was provocation from the island and the U.S. That's not good. Are they just, is this another, is this just brinksmanship on the part of the Chinese, or are they just, again, trying to show Taiwan that they could just do whatever they want? Now, it's going to be interesting how the U.S. responds to this. I'm going to guess the Biden administration won't respond to this at all. Oh, the key word is unofficial. You're correct. It is a key word. But again, they're sword rattling right now, and it's not good. And I'm pretty sure the Biden administration ain't going to do shit. So that's because he has too much money tied up in China. All right, let's move on. Over the weekend, a busload of migrants were dropped off at Kamala Harris's home on Christmas Eve. Now, again, I'm not a fan of these stunts, but I'm also not a fan of these stunts. A flurry of buses dropped off dozens of migrants at the Washington, D.C. residence of Vice President Kamala Harris On a frigid Christmas Eve, Texas Governor Greg Abbott and other Republican-leading southern states have arranged to transport thousands of migrants to liberal enclaves such as Chicago, New York City, Martha's Vineyard, and Washington, D.C. in recent months to draw attention to the U.S.-Mexico border crisis. With the temperature dipping into the teens, buses with approximately 50 migrants were expected to arrive late Saturday in front of the U.S. Naval Observatory, a source told CNN. A reporter from 7 News, a local ABC affiliate, caught what he said was the third and final bus of the night, noting it came from Texas. So this is the video. Very noisy video. I'm sorry about that. I don't understand the idea of dropping him in front of the vice president's house. Although she is the border czar, so maybe that's it. Anyway, video posted to social media by reporter Kristen Flores showed what he said were migrants picking up their belongings and boarding another bus destined for a local church. So they didn't just leave them there. Okay. And it said it included women and children. CNN's Noah Gray cited Amy Fisher with the Migrant Solidarity Mutual Aid, saying the asylum seekers, where are they seeking asylum from and why? I'm curious. They love to call them asylum seekers. Are they officially asylum seekers? Because there's some rules for asylum seeking. I'm just saying. Anyway, the asylum seekers were originally headed for New York, but shifted to D.C. because of the weather. Oh, because it's a little bit warmer in D.C. than it is in New York City. Get a rope. He reported that the migrants were being bused locally by the Migrant Solidarity Mutual Aid Network. These migrants arrived in D.C. as the Supreme Court decided the fate of Title 42, a controversial Trump-era public health order that allows U.S. border agents to turn away migrants, including those seeking asylum, on an expedited basis. A group of Republican-led states, including Texas, are fighting the Biden administration court to keep the emergency powers alive, warning of the potential for more chaos at the border. Well, potential? They're getting 40, 50,000 a day coming across. So it's not even a potential chaos. It's already freaking chaos. And then U.S. reported more than 2 million migrants encounters at the border in fiscal year 2022, a marked increase from the prior year when that figure was reported in October. Customs and Border Protection Commissioner Chris Mangus said that failing regimes in Venezuela, Cuba, and Nicaragua were driving a new wave of migrants across the Western Hemisphere. Now, wait a minute. Migrants crossing over from Cuba? Are they walking on water to Mexico and then going through, or what the hell's going on here? I don't get it. Anyway. So, in announcing the buses traveling outside of Harris's home in the Naval Observatory in September, Abbott noted the vice president was President Joe Biden's pick to lead his administration's effort to tackle the migrant challenge at the U.S.-Mexico border, a job which critics say she has failed to take seriously. That's anyway, all right. So that's what's happening over there in Washington, D.C. Real quickie, thank you, Maddie, for sponsoring the show. Greatly appreciated dropping a big old fast spot in the tip jar, saying, by the way, if you want to sponsor the show, pdognight.live, the graphics are all messed up right now, but up in the right-hand corner, you can do those there, or you can do YouTube Super Chats. I'm cool with either one. But if you do it through pdognight.live, you don't have to pay Susan. Anyway, thank you, Maddie, for sponsoring the show. From the perspective of one whose parents are legal immigrants, they shouldn't be here illegally. They can't seek asylum if they are not being persecuted by their government, and cartels don't count. If my fam can do it, so can they. I agree, Maddie. Thank you very much for sponsoring the show. And cheers to you, by the way. I have to bring you some chili because I made some really good chili. All right. Let's see. All right, let's move on because I'm going to try to get through a few more of these. Speaking of which, now, speaking of the border crisis, apparently this border boom, the U.S. 2022 population growth has been driven almost entirely by immigration, which means people aren't having babies. Of course, international migration, including mass illegal migration, largely drove America's population growth in 2022. I guess that after encouraging Americans to contracept and abort their progeny out of existence to the extent that the United States faces a dangerous population collapse, the radical left fixed the problem by allowing anyone and everyone to pour across the southern U.S. border. What was that old phrase about two wrongs not making a right? U.S. population grew by 1.2 million people this year, with growth largely driven by international migration, and the nation now has 333.2 million residents, said the Associated Press via the Corvallis Gazette-Times. The statistics come from the U.S. Census Bureau. With the looming end of Trump-era border restrictions, the already record number of illegal migrants is likely to become an avalanche, according to the AP. One of the biggest problems of illegal migration, which is almost certainly the majority of the population gain based on the numbers of illegal migrants, is that it is difficult to prevent criminals from entering the United States. Border Patrol data for fiscal year 2022 showed that a 600% spike in illegal special interest migrants flagged as potential national security risks, or that means 25,627 individuals who are likely criminals from other countries. Great. Yay. I'm just so excited about that. In September, Border Patrol Council VP Art Del Cueto said on Steve Bannon's War Room that the criminal cartels have so much control of the border, even young teen migrants are working for them. In fiscal year 2022, illegal migrant crossings exceeded 2.76 million. That's the ones they could count. Because, it's if they counted 2.67 whatever million, I'm guessing that it's double that. Just saying. So anyway, and mostly they're showing up in California and Texas. And then, let's see. Now, then they talk about states that are having population declines. New York, California had the biggest annual population decline, losing a net of over 113,000 residents. They're just talking about how the populations are shifting. I think I have another article on that later. Let's move on. Biomedical terrorist organization WHO accuses anti-vaxxers of anti-science aggression, calling them a killing force. The Bill Gates-funded World Health Organization, WHO, is on the rhetorical warpath against, you know it, anti-vaxxers who won't submit to the mRNA injections, launching a new social media campaign to demonize their opponents. So this, I'm going to show you this, and then I'm going to move on from this article because I'm not going to get into this conversation. But this is a new World Health Organization campaign. As the more we learn about the vaccines, they've decided that this campaign was a great idea. Here it is. Anti-vaccine activism, which I can actually call anti-science aggression. Gee, I guess they haven't been paying attention to data, but has now become a major killing force globally. Here it is. Let's just watch this little bit of WHO propaganda.
We have to recognize that anti-vaccine activism, which I actually call anti-science aggression, has now become a major killing force globally. During the COVID pandemic in the United States, 200,000 Americans needlessly lost their lives because they refused a COVID vaccine, even after vaccines became widely available. And now the anti-vaccine activism is expanding across the world, even into low and middle income countries. It's a killing force. Anti-science now kills more people than things like gun violence, global terrorism, nuclear proliferation, or cyber attacks. And now it's become a political...
Wait, cyber attacks cost death? I didn't know that.
...political movement. In the U.S., it's linked to far extremism on the far right. Same in Germany. So this is a new
it's the far
face
right.
of anti-science aggression. And so we need political solutions to address this.
Okay, there's the World.
We have to recognize
the World Health Organization telling you what you should think. Of course, now there was a headline in the New York Times, and I don't know if it's accurate, but I remember seeing it saying that we've now had more vaccinated people die from COVID than non-vaccinated people. Now, I think that's only a monthly statistics, but just a thought. So, Doc, I'm curious. Virologist Peter Hotez, the useful vector that the WHO uses to launch his attack is a fat slob from whom no sane person would take medical advice. He admitted to Joe Rogan that he consumes fast food as the staple of his diet with no regard to nutrition at all. So anyway, that's a little editorial comment in this article. I'm gonna just put in the tabs and let you read the rest because I'm gonna get in trouble. Moving on. Let's see. This is an American Thinker today. This this is about this girl. Okay. I'm going to leave out some of the editorial verbiage in here, but basically take this jab or we will deny you life-saving care. Now, who would ever thought that in the United States of America, a sick child would be denied life-saving medical treatment solely because she wasn't vacationed against the stupid 19. Yulia is the adopted daughter of two military veterans, Chrissy and Lee Hicks. Duke University Hospital is cruelly denying her a kidney transplant because she hasn't taken the jab. A child. Now, remember how statistically children fare when it comes to the stupid 19. But this hospital is not allowing her a kidney transplant because they refuse the jab. This is happening despite our knowing so much more about stupid 19 treatments, including how mask mandates and social distancing have, let's just say, what's the word? I don't want to use the words they're using here. They have mixed results. Let's just put it that way. Thank you, Chicago Mike. Dropping a big bullet in the tip jar. Appreciate you there. He says, we need a bigger government to tell you how to live. Yes, that's exactly right. We definitely need a bigger government to tell you how to live. Thank you, Mike. I appreciate that. This is happening despite our knowing so much more about stupid 19 treatments and blah, blah, blah. CDC Director Rochelle Walensky went on CNN in January to say that vaccination is no longer effective in stopping the spread of the disease. Now, that was her words. She said that. Now, I'm not saying that, but that's what she says. They're no longer effective in stopping the spread of the disease. Well, yeah, I guess, okay. In fact, okay, let's just put it this way. Fuck these people who would hold up a kidney transplant in a child over this. This is a whole article. I can't. Maybe I'll do this somewhere else sometime. But the article's here. I'm going to skip that. Let's move on. Also, in the American Thinker, a federal judge essentially says parents. Oh, this is the other part. Okay, this is kind of the companion article to this because these parents are not, they're not consenting to have their child take this mRNA vaccine because of the, potential side effects, whatever their choices. But the Duke University Hospital is denying a kidney transplant. I don't know. I'm curious why if there's somewhere else they can go. But then the transportation may cause problems too. But anyway, this is the companion, how judges are now saying that you have no rights over your children. Now, I'm going to go through this whole thing. Lenin is reputed to have said, "Give me 4 years to teach the children, and the seeds I have planted will never be uprooted." Every parent knows this is true. Children are sponges, learning things incredibly quickly. These things then stick, for they are buried in the very deepest recesses of our brains. Today's leftists are attempting to reinstitute this specific type of Leninism in America. They want your children, and your efforts to protest will be unavailing. Now listen to this. A Massachusetts federal judge confirmed this last week, saying that it didn't, quote, shock the conscious, end quote, that a school secretly indoctrinated 2 children into transgenderism. Now, this is from an article in the Daily Wire, which I also have linked right here, where, I'll just stay in this article though. A federal judge has thrown out a lawsuit from Massachusetts parents who accuse public school officials of hiding their children's gender transitions from them. Hello, Dwayne Curley. How are you doing? U.S. Court Judge Mark Mastroianni. Mastroianni? That's a lot of vowels in that name. An Obama appointee criticized Ludlow public school officials for allegedly hiding the pair of siblings' gender transitions from their parents, but said the official actions do not shock the conscience. What the hell does that mean? By the way, thank you for joining us, Dwayne Curley. Nice to have you join the show. While the court is apprehensive about the alleged policy and actions of the Ludlow Public Schools with regard to parental notification, it cannot conclude the decision to withhold information about the children from their parents meets the conscious, shocking legal standard in Massachusetts, the judge wrote in his December 14th ruling. Now, the case revolves around the fact that the school deliberately made the decision to keep from parents the demands that they be treated with as members of the opposite sex in junior high school. So at junior high school, these kids have been brainwashed into thinking that everyone should be gender transition. Here it is. The 11-year-old girl allegedly emailed school staff in February 2021 and announced that she wanted to go by a cluster of new pronouns. Quote, I am genderqueer. My new name will be, and I'll just say R because they don't put the name in here. If you dead name me or use any pronouns I am uncomfortable with, I will politely tell you a list of pronouns you can use are, and basically she's demanding the school that she wrote a letter to school demanding the school do this, and they didn't notify her parents. Here she continued, a list. Now this is weird because a list of pronouns you can use are she, her, he, him, they, them, fair, fairy, er, they, their, ze, them, ze, zer. Please only use the ones I have listed and not the other ones. Now, here's the problem. She gave them she, her, and he, him, and they, them. What other pronouns would she be? It says, please use only the ones I have listed. But that's all the pronouns that are possible. What are you talking about? Anyway, she says, please only use the ones I have listed and not the other ones. I do not like them. The girl wrote. Her parents said in court documents. Do not use the other ones. I do not. What other pronouns are there? Anyway, afterward, a school counselor allegedly sent an email to staff ordering them not to tell the parents about the gender identity change. We have a problem. Houston, we have a problem. I am dumbfounded by this. RB, that's the girl's name, is still in the process of telling his parents and is requesting that the school refer to him as B and use she, her pronouns with her parents and in written emails and letters to home, the counselor wrote, according to the parents. So they, meanwhile, the girl's 12-year-old brother asked school staff to use female pronouns for him, and staff hid that information from his parents, the parents claim. So both of their kids decided to do this. And the counselor said, do not tell the parents. In other words, said a federal judge, for schools to keep a profound secret about the child who has ostensibly made a decision that could alter the child's entire life, surgeries, hormones, suicide, substance abuse, is no big deal. It's a little worrisome, sure, but why would anyone get upset about it? As the Kings once sang, girls will be boys and boys will be girls. It's a mixed up, muddled up, shook up world. In the song Lola. Get with the transgender times, man. Fuck no. The heck with that. That is not true. Parents love their children. The state does not. The state's only goal is power, while parents' only goal is for his or her child to have the best possible life. It's a fucked up world, I gotta tell you. It's a messed up world. What is a Christmas hangover? Oh, just the news. I didn't have any alcohol yesterday. Well, no, I did. Oh, I have to tell. Yesterday I didn't. I had one cocktail on Christmas Eve. So But the Christmas hangover is the news that just happened to happen over the weekend. So anyway. All right, let's keep going here. And then if you want to read the Daily Caller article of more about the case, I'll have that in the links too. By the way, if you're new here, I do provide links to every single article and video and tweet and whatever in a single link at the end of the show in the description. It's called a one-tab link. It'll be in the second paragraph. I update that during the outro of the show. Moving on. Leaked document exposes EU's secret plan for Palestinian Authority takeover of Judea and Samaria. This is unusual too. This is crazy. So apparently there's a newly leaked European Union document has exposed a clandestine plan to expand the Palestinian control over Judea and Samaria. A 6-page confidential policy document repeatedly written by the EU mission in East Jerusalem shows the European bloc's intent to help Palestinians gain full control of Judea and Samaria, even areas inhabited by Israeli Jews. Judea and Samaria, also referred to in the media as the West Bank, was split into 3 areas under the Oslo Accords in 1993. Area A is to be exclusively administered by the Palestinian Authority, the Area B jointly by the PA and Israel, and Area C by Israel. Area C is home to more than 400,000 Israelis. Citing the leaked EU document, the news agency Jewish News Syndicate noted that Brussels is actively working with and on behalf of the Palestinian Authority to take over Area C of Judea and Samaria, with the overall objective of integrating the region with areas A and B. The EU also wants to undermine the historic Jewish claim to the biblical land. The 6-page document calls for mapping the territory in order to prove Palestinian rights to the land and monitoring Israel archaeology activity as ancient Jewish ties reinforce Israel claims, the JNS noted. So this is, again, I don't know why. This is just this is such a hard region to deal with, and why the leftist organizations always try to go against Israel on this. But the Dawg Knight Show is responsible for your head exploding due to the ranting from the news. Look at the news section at your own risk. Yeah, I know. I've seen the news section in Discord. So this is they're funding a land grab. And it's, I don't know, you can read details on this. I just find it interesting that they're doing this again. Speaking of which, we're just moving on. Let's move on to this article on TikTok. China expert says communist China using TikTok to promote drug use, violence, and in America to attempt to ruin the country. Is that a surprise to any of you? Have you seen the difference between how TikTok is used in China versus here? Like, it's all about, there's so much gender stuff on TikTok, as you see from Libs of TikTok. But TikTok's generally entertaining and dancing, but in the United States, it's all kind of, I wouldn't say degenerate stuff, but it's just like, it promotes weird stuff, whereas in China, TikTok promotes science and history. Anyway, Gordon Chang, a fellow senior at the Gatestone Institute and author of The Great U.S.-China Tech War, said during an interview this week, communist China is using TikTok to promote social disruption in the United States in an attempt to weaken America's system of government. Well, just look at what your kids come home with and they believe, then that'll probably tell you a lot about it. Anyway, Chang initially responded to comments from Fox News host Jason Chaffetz about China's claim that it has legitimate concerns that it wants the U.S. to take seriously. Well, first of all, China doesn't have legitimate concerns. It's not a legitimate state, Chang said, and we should stop treating it as such because, as you say, it is committing genocide, crimes against humanity. It is deliberately spreading COVID-19 beyond its border. That's 6.7 million people outside of China who have died from a disease that should have never left the central part of that country. Now I don't agree with that necessarily because I know that everything the CDC and the WHO is 100% correct. I do not believe anything that those organizations do say. I only believe the things that those organizations just say. These conspiracy theories coming out of this guy talking about China, I just don't believe it. Thank you, YouTube, for not taking down my channel. Anyway, But anyway, clearly China is engaging in a series of acts which are destructive not only toward the United States, but the international community as a whole. A couple of minutes later, Shavitz responded to a report this week that ByteDance, the Chinese company of TikTok, spied on several U.S. journalists. President Trump banned TikTok along with WeChat, Chang said. President Biden, one of the first things he did was reverse that ban. We know over the course of years, about 3 or 4 of them, TikTok has been making representations to the U.S. about how it doesn't allow data to be sent to China, and it's violated every single assurance it's given to the U.S. But it's not just stealing data. It's actually more serious than that. The TikTok algorithm to disseminate Chinese propaganda, glorifying drug use, promoting violence on America's streets, and this year disseminating Russian narratives about the Ukraine war. Well, now wait a minute. Is this guy, he's one of these Ukraine flag guys? I don't know. Anyway, he continues. So this is really an attempt to undermine and actually even overthrow the U.S. government. That's why, and why we permit it, I do not know. India banned TikTok. We should do the same. I have no problem if they should ban TikTok, if they're finding that there's the data breaches that they talk about all the time are true. All right, let's move on. Climate change protesters are not known for their intelligence. True. Okay. Breaking news. Climate change protesters block roads over Germany using coal-fired power plants over gas-fired power plants due to lack of gas from Russia. Fascinating. They want people to freeze. Wait. Breaking China. Climate change protesters block roads over Germany using... Oh, because they're using coal-fired power plants because they're not getting enough gas. Oh, boy. Anyway. All right, I'm going to move on because I try to get done here in a decent amount of time. Interim Census Bureau report shows red states on a roll. Okay, this is all this article is telling you is inter-country migration in the United States, aka people leaving certain states and moving to other states. There's a lot more people moving to the states that have the red designation than the blue designation right now. As in, Florida is growing very fast. Texas is growing very fast. Here it is. I'll just give you the main part of this. Their most recent interim Census Bureau report states growth in Texas last year was fueled by gains from all 3 components: net domestic migration, new international migration, and natural increase. No one wants to question the honesty, integrity, intelligence of that went into creating these numbers, but let's do a little off-the-cuff math. The U.S. Border Patrol currently estimates that 10,000 illegal aliens cross the border from Mexico daily, not counting the unknown number of gotaways. Presuming Mexico is a foreign country and therefore international, 10,000 goes into 118,000 about 12 times. What? Yeah. Even if you accept a much lower number of illegals crossing into Texas, the Census Bureau's number makes no sense unless you presume. Okay, I don't know what that means. The point is, people are moving from state to state. More people are moving out of blue states than into red states. You can read it yourself. In Front Page Magazine, there's in the University of North Carolina. In the University of North Carolina, they have a new segregated research fellowship. And when I say segregated, I mean in the old form of segregated definition. The more things change, the more they say the same. Before he became the hero of the Watergate hearings, Senator Sam Ervin was best known as a staunch segregationist. So staunch that it would warm his chilly heart where he's able to see that 37 years after his death, segregation is back in North Carolina. Good morning, LA Prepper. The University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, a far-left stronghold and generally more conservative state, is introducing a new research fellowship that is open only to students of preferred races. Those whose skin color is the wrong shade need not apply. How old Senator Sam, who helped organize resistance to Brown versus the Board of Education of Topeka in the 1954 Supreme Court decision that designated the schools or desegregated the schools, would be chuckling over his beer. So anyway, here it is. And it says Ibram X. Kendi and Nicole Hannah-Jones should be enraged, but they won't be. In fact, they probably think this is a fine and positive development. The Washington Free Beacon reported Monday that the University of North Carolina, whose affirmative action program, along with that of Harvard University, is under review by the Supreme Court, sponsors the Fellowship of Exploring Research in Nutrition, which accepts applications exclusively from students who are Black, Indigenous, or people of color, otherwise known as BIPOC. That's right. No Irish need apply, just as the bad old early days of the Republic, and no one else either. If your melanin content is insufficient, segregation is back in the Tar Heel State and back with a vengeance. The website for FERN, which is the Fellowship for Exploring Research in Nutrition, explains that it is necessary because bad nutrition is racist.
That's racist!
Among the most pressing public health problems of today are childhood and adulthood obesity, which contribute to chronic health conditions such as cardiovascular disease or diabetes and can lead to early death. You guessed it, racial minorities are hardest hit. Obesity disproportionately impacts Black, Indigenous, and people of color and other historically marginalized communities. Now, wait a minute. Okay. So anyway, wait, I'll come back to what my thought maybe. However, little or nothing has been done, which UNC apparently believes is because the researchers are not generally members of these racial minority groups. Yet people from these communities, this is a quote, yet people from these communities are traditionally underrepresented among researchers working to develop, research, and evaluate food and nutrition policies to address obesity. So you're going to find a way to fix that because the melanin content's going to tell you more, or the best researchers are going to figure that out. I don't know. So here it is. White researchers apparently don't care about Black people with poor nutrition. Increased representation in food policy research is critical for developing effective, equitable, there's that word, comprehensive and culturally competent policies that address nutrition-related health disparities. The Free Beacon notes that the racist exclusionary program, which UNC Chapel Hill announced last week on its website, comes as UNC Chapel Hill and Harvard await a verdict from the Supreme Court over a lawsuit from Students for Fair Admissions, a nonprofit opposed to affirmative action. So anyway, good for North Carolina. They are recognizing that only BIPOC researchers can research nutrition for BIPOC people. See, because you can't just use data and information. It has to be, there has to be a melanin content in your skin to be able to research things that affect people who have melanin in their skin. So I'm fully on board with this. It sounds like a perfect program, and holy shit. Anyway, moving on. In today's Blacklisted American, speaking of North Carolina, also there's a professor at North Carolina who got fired for having wrong opinions. Officials at the North Carolina Governor's School, a residential summer program for the state's most talented rising high school seniors, fired David Phillips, a professor there, for 8 summers because they did not like the content of the optional 3-section seminar he held critiquing critical race theory. In other words, they decided to blackball him simply because they did not agree with his opinions. Phillips has now sued with the Alliance Defending Freedom acting as his legal firm. The preamble of his lawsuit describes what happened, and this is what happened here. At the conclusion of each lecture, members of the audience, including staff members, reacted with open hostility to the ideas and viewpoints discussed, and they attacked whiteness, maleness, heterosexuality, and Christianity, none of which should have been relevant in their comments and questions. Despite the hostility, Dr. Phillips stayed long after the published end time of each lecture to respond calmly to each question, and he even offered to meet with students and staff members later for further discussion. The day after Dr. Phillips' third optional seminar, which ironically discussed the importance of viewpoint diversity in higher education, defendants fired Dr. Phillips without warning or explanation. Later, Dr. Phillips learned that a few staff members had complained about the content of the optional seminars, but instead of investigating those complaints, determining if any policies were violated, or addressing any concerns with Dr. Phillips, indeed without even giving Dr. Phillips an opportunity to hear the complaint and respond, defendants took their own stand against viewpoint diversity and fired Dr. Phillips because they disagreed with his view. Well, isn't that special? How are you going to learn if you don't learn? So, I don't know. Let's see. The defendants include not only the North Carolina Department of Public Education, but from the specific officials who fired him, the names of the people that he's going against. So anyway, they didn't like his opinion, so they fired him. And I don't know. I wonder if he had tenure. Hello, Jay Pylon. Good to see you, brother. Moving on. Oh, what's this? That's Merry Christmas. Oh, there's a big kick to revoke honorary degrees that have been given to conservatives. So this is here's just a few of them. Syracuse University devised a system to revoke honorary degrees after students and faculty demanded the university rescind Rudy Giuliani's degree. His honorary degree could be revoked this upcoming spring. Students have asked universities to pull degree awards for other conservative figures, such as former White House Press Secretary Kayleigh McEnany and Republican Senator Ted Cruz. So multiple universities across the country have rescinded honorary degrees, which are given to recognize the achievements of individuals who are not students at the university from prominent members of the Trump administration. Last month, Syracuse did that for Giuliani. Let's see. Because his argument of his arguments over the 2020 election. Let's see who I'm going to skip down. Let's see. 4 other universities have refused to revoke Giuliani's degrees. Well, good for them. Of course, Business Insider had to write about it. Let's see. Syracuse would not be the first university to revoke honorary degree for Giuliani. Rather, if the committee moves forward with implementing the new system, Syracuse would become the 4th school to follow through with such an act, following in the footsteps of Middlebury College, Drexel University, and the University of Rhode Island. And then the 4 schools that have refused to revoke his degrees are St. John's Fisher University, Loyola University of Maryland, the Citadel, and Georgetown University. In addition, universities including Lehigh and Wagner stripped Trump of his honorary degrees following the January 6th Capitol riot. Forbes reported Robert Gordon University in Scotland rescinded an honorary degree in 2015 during Trump's first campaign for president. So they did it just because he ran for president. Oh my goodness. So anyway, this is nothing new. It's just, when these universities rescind these honorary degrees, I think some of these people should throw parties and make fun of them. So anyway, all right, I'm going to, and then over the weekend, Stanford University came up with what is the Elimination of Harmful Language Initiative. I don't know if you heard about this one. Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Honorary degrees are stupid anyways. Totally meaningless awards should just stop the whole idiotic process. Yeah, I've never understood an honorary degree doesn't really mean anything other than, we're honoring this person because we think they're a fantastic human being and whatever. Like, whatever. Who cares? I'm going to skip this one, but if you want to. So Stanford has a new, what do they call it? Elimination of. They published guidelines for Elimination of Harmful Language Initiative, a multi-phase, multi-year project to address harmful language in IT at Stanford. Here, I'll just scroll down and go to give you the lowdown. So it's all part and parcel of our culture's process of inversion, reversal, or to give it a more familiar name, suicide. The EHLI website is special. Early on, prospective readers are warned, quote, "Content warning. This website contains language that is offensive or harmful. Please engage with this website at your own pace." See, you need some crying towels and something to take care of the vapors when you read their website. So here's what it is. The Scary Bulletin offers advice on language that you should, and more to the point, language that you shouldn't use in several different situations with respect to language that touches on the prowess or disability. For example, it suggests that saying instead of addict, one should say a person with substance use disorder. Oh, gosh, I would feel so much more comfortable being called a person with substance use disorder. Wouldn't you? I'm just saying. Maniac Man, what's up? Here it is. Not that the person mainlining heroin had any choice in the matter, you see. Instead of saying basket case, consider saying nervous. Now, I didn't know baskets were offensive. Instead of saying committed suicide, say died by suicide. As if it just happened. No agency or responsibility involved. And on through its usual lexicon of supposedly hypersensitive and really obtuse insanity. Also, the website proceeds through all the usual politically correct categories with entries on ageist language, 57 varieties of gender identification, and of course, endless hand-wringing entries detailing with race. Don't say, quote, bury the hatchet, for heaven's sake. Say call for peace. Call a truce. Don't say low man on the totem pole. Say lacking seniority. Don't have the power or prestige. By the same token, is that permissible? Don't say balls to the wall. I could have told you that. Say accelerate efforts. Don't say chairman or chairwoman. Say chairperson or chair. Yes, you are now an inanimate object. Naturally, you shouldn't even think about using personal pronouns or the word man as a collective noun or as a verb. Don't say black hat, black mark, black sheep, black bald, black box, black list. Don't even say brown bag because, well, you know. Oh, and by the way, grandfather, father, mother, daughter, son, they're out. And so are the most uses of the word master. Master lists, master as subject, master plan. You can't say rule of thumb because the document explains, quote, this phrase is attributed to an old British law that allowed men to beat their wives with sticks no wider than their thumb. Yes, I knew all about that law from the 16th century. It actually has its source in Muslim practice, but they're a protected group, so we're not supposed to mention them. Oh, so it's not really a British rule anymore. Oh, and also note that the version of this pathetic document, it's linked. I'll link the document. Here it is. I'll put that in the links too. Elimination of harmful. There we go. There it is. Should we read it? I don't know. I want to go through some of it. Hey, let's look at this. Let's look at the actual document. Here it is. Opening document, 100%. Oh, am I going to be, oh my gosh, look at this list. This list goes on and on and on. Okay, let's look at just some of the, let's see. Let's start here. You cannot say addict, addicted, basket case, blind review because, some people cannot see, unintentionally perpetuates that disability is somehow abnormal or negative, furthering an ableist culture. It is abnormal to be blind. Abnormal is not bad. It's just different. I have a friend who's blind. They don't care about being called blind because they are blind. This is so stupid. Let's see. Let's find another dumb one. They're all done. Here we go. You can't say lame because you have to say boring or uncool, ableist language that contribute. Look at how long this list is. Wheelchair bound versus person who uses a wheelchair. Here's the reasoning. Using first language helps to not define people by just one of their characteristics. Also, users of wheelchairs often find themselves to be an essential tool for their freedom instead of thinking it as a prison. Oh, gosh. Graybeard. You can't say graybeard. That's ageism. A person's name. It calls out older, presumably more experienced IT or cybersecurity person by referring to their age instead of their name. Again, this is in cyber stuff. How about culturally appropriative? Bury the hatchet. That was the one. Can't call a person a chief. That's a designation in the Navy, right? Geronimo. There's no substitute. Guru. You can't say a guru. You can say an expert or subject matter expert or primary leader or teacher or guide. In the Buddhist and Hindu traditions, the word is a sign of respect. Using it casually negates its original value. Is guru is, oh my God, these people. Pocahontas. Use Elizabeth Warren instead. There you go. This is a slur and should not be used to address an indigenous woman unless that is her actual name. Well, actually, it's Pocahontas. Fauxahonts. That's Elizabeth Warren. So I should correct the record here. And then we got preferred pronouns. Good God! You're not supposed to say preferred pronouns anymore. It's just pronouns. The word preferred suggests that non-binary gender identity is a choice and a preference. It's a choice. Anyway, I'll leave the list up here. I'm not doing it. Guru equals cultural appropriation. The Buddhists don't give a shit how you use the word. Okay, yeah, same here. Oh, good Lord. A warrant officer is called a chief. Yeah. Let's see if there's any other. That's gender-based. Chairwoman. Okay, they not using a generic man or whatever, or even man or woman at all, using person. How about this? Landlord, property owner, lumps a group of people using gender binary language, which doesn't include everyone. Don't care. Imprecise language you can't use. Abort. Like these are technical terms when you're aborting a process. Cancel or end. This term can unintentionally cause religious moral concerns over abortion. Not in context, you morons. Child prostitute. You can't use that. Child who's been trafficked. Using first-person language helps not define people by just one of their characteristics. Circle the wagons. Instead, take a defensive position. Hollywood movies about settlers migrating west contributed greatly to the formation of this phrase, which means that savages are coming and a group of white people is about to be attacked. It also paints indigenous people as the aggressors. Really? First of all, not only white settlers were moving west, there were black people who moved west, but, circle the wagons was a defensive position. And so, but yeah, it's offensive to the indigenous folks of the Americans. Good lie. And using the word black for anything. A black mark assigns a negative connotation to the color black, racializing the terms. Well, I don't think of a black mark in racial terms. Black sheep, black ball, black box, black list, brown bag, cakewalk. Cakewalk? Easy as okay, cakewalk because you can't use cakewalk because enslaved people covertly used exaggerated dance to mock their enslavers. This turned into balls that the white enslavers would hold for an entertainment where the prize was a cake. Can you use crip walk? Oh, good Lord. This list is how many pages long? Let's go to the bottom. How many pages long? This is 13 pages of language moderation. I know you can't see it, but still, here it is. This is the document that will be in the links. I gotta get out of move on. Oh, good Lord. So there's been a lot of talk about book banning in the United States lately because there's some obscene books that are being removed from schools across the country. The most prominent one is genderqueer, where they have the cartoon cartoon depictions of fellatio and shit like that in a children's book, mind you, in a children's book for in middle school libraries, pictures of people giving blowjobs. So So anyway, there's an article here. I'm not going to go through it because I'd probably get in trouble. But there's an article here talking about some of the books that people are asking school boards to not have in your child's school because they're probably not appropriate for your child. But there's certainly people out there who think that this is what children should be learning instead of math. Here, let's do this one. Let's see if this person... Breaking. Parents in Dearborn, Michigan are revolting against pornographic books in the school libraries. A mom reads a passage from the book Flamed. Okay, here. We'll see.
So, we can stop the discussion about what is and what isn't.
Yep.
This is the law. I don't care what ACLU says. I don't know if they've read these books. We know our rights as parents, and we know that right now our rights are being infringed upon. So, I'm going to read from this book. I didn't want to. I have not had to do that up to this point. But considering that
now, the school board's probably going to cut her off,
should go back on the shelf. And by the way, I'll pay the library fine. I'm not returning this book. So you can reorder it, whatever you're going to do. Hey, Elias, where'd you go? I'm in here with Mark and Bobby. Hey, guys, what you doing? Taking care of business. Have a seat. Huh? Why is it so dark in here? Can I come in now? No, you're too young. No, I'm not. Fine, but you'll have to prove it. I will. Uh-oh, I think I figured out what taking care of business means. We're each busting a load into this bottle. If you don't come, you have to drink it. Ha ha ha. Give me that, I'll show you. I learned about masturbation 2 years ago, kind of by accident.
Middle school.
No one ever told me what it was. One day, when everyone was out of the house, I came across a videotape hidden behind the TV. My dad had hidden movies before with dirty scenes like Fatal Attraction. It was exciting to see boobs and butts, but this time it was different. I could see everything. People were doing things that I didn't even know were possible or even allowed.
They cut off her mic.
Hussein Galan would like to come to speak to the board. Yes, I'm sorry. Hussein would like.
So they cut her off, which is typical in these school board meetings. But anyway, this is an article about that again. I'm going to skip the next few. Oh, the Bidens apparently staged a Christmas scene on Christmas Eve. This is so weird. Look at this. So look at this. This is something the president and Jill Biden. First of all, I didn't know you could do a combined tweet like this, but that's pretty interesting. But here it is. The president and the first lady tweeted this out on Christmas Eve. Okay, now tell me what's wrong with this. Just a few finishing touches. Hope you and your loved ones are having a great Christmas Eve. And here's the picture they tweeted out. Maybe if it clicked, I clicked it. It's not. Okay, there you go. This is the picture they clicked out. Just a few touches on Christmas Eve. Now, what do you notice about this picture? What do you know about this picture? What the hell, GDSOB? What does that mean? Don't say that kind of shit in my tweet, my whatever. Christmas Eve. Decorating a tree. First of all, I want to know who gave Joe Biden that ladder. Do you think Joe Biden should ever be standing on a ladder? And why are they decorating a tree on Christmas Eve? And why is the tree in front of doors? And why? There's a whole bunch of things. So there was a lot of little funny memes about this. Why is a tree in front of the door? That's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering why they put the tree in front of the door. So a lot of people are talking about this. And had some funny things to say about it. So let me get rid of this out of here. There we go. So anyway, a lot of people think, well, first of all, the tree is blocking the doorway. Putting a tree up on Christmas Eve in the White House, I thought they already decorated the White House. And then Joe on a ladder, unless Kamala gave it to him. Is that believable? There were some funny memes on this, though. Oh, where is it? Here it is. Wait, someone made, oh no, it's gone. Here, I'll go back into here because some of these are hilarious. Let's see. There's one. They got one with the Ukrainian flag and Zelensky there. And notice the dollars. There are lots of dollars for President Zelensky there. And they got a little Ukrainian flag on top of the tree. So that was pretty funny. What was the other one? I think there was one, this one. An elf doing a butt selfie on the copy machine. And then, yeah, this is totally not staged at all. And then, where's the one with, there's a funny one. Here it is. Here's the best one. The one with a naked hunter there and her bringing out the balls ornament. And then there's Hunter in the background. So yeah, he just stopped by to help decorate the tree. All right, let's move on. Let's see, we'll skip that. All right, we're back. We're up to, I'm not going to do the Twitter files right now. This is, just to finish the show today, we're going to celebrate all that is Joe Biden by reading this MSNBC article talking about how Joe Biden got his groove back in 2022. Yes, Joe Biden, the president of the United States, got his groove back in 2022. The subheadline is, in modern political history, few presidents have had a better second year than Biden did in 2022. Good Fox, I hate you for this. I'm just going to read it, though. We're just going to read it. We're going to enjoy this article. By Michael Cohen. Oh, Michael Cohen. That's the guy who wrote he's the guy who writes the anti-Trump books. Wow. Okay. By the way, if you're enjoying this show, please hit the like button while you can and share the stream. Even though we're almost done, I want you to share the stream. I want other people to see this. We're trying to grow the channel by, I need about 8,500 more people before the second week of January or second week of February. So please share the stream. And if you want to sponsor the show, you can do that at pdawgknight.live. It says right over there, or YouTube Super Chats. Thank you for those who've contributed so far. Okay, here it is. As the old expression goes, this is not the worst I sent you. Okay, but I'm going to as the old expression goes, it was the best of times. It was the worst of times. But for Joe Biden this year, there was a heck of a lot more of the former than the latter. In modern political history, few presidents have had a better second year than Biden did in 2022. Oh, good Lord. When the year began, few would have imagined that these words would be written in December. Biden's approval ratings were at 43%, a 7% drop from August 2021. Increasing inflation suggested that Democrats would be heading into the crucial midterm elections with a faltering economy and rising prices, particularly at the gas pumps. They did. The president's signature legislation, Build Back Better agenda, was going nowhere in Congress. They just changed the name and made it sound much less ominous. Blocked not by just Republicans, but rather by a recalcitrant Democratic senator from West Virginia. Yes, that evil Joe Manchin. Meanwhile, Democratic plans to scrap the filibuster on voting rights reform was stalling out in the Senate. With an assist from the aforementioned Joe Manchin and Arizona's Kyrsten Sinema, finally House Democrats, many in safe districts, were sprinting to the exits and announcing their intention not to seek re-election. Oh no! Quite simply, 2022 is shaping up to be a dumpster fire for Democrats. Yet, as we near New Year's Eve, Biden is in an envious position for a first-term president. Sure, his approval rating remains mediocre. Amazingly, they are practically at the same point they stood 1 year ago. Okay, that's a triumph that has not gone down. But Democrats just came through the midterms with one additional seat in the Senate, well below expected losses in the House, even though they had lost in the House and lost the House, and crucial gains at the state level. Moreover, rather than languishing in the Senate, much of Biden's legislative agenda became law, including a massive spending package that will lower prescription drug prices, strengthen former President Barack Obama's healthcare law, and pump close to $370 billion into the fight against climate change. Yes, their printing presses go brr. Yes, I'm adding editorial to this. Perhaps the most important for Biden's hope of re-election, he has largely consolidated Democratic support behind him. There is little prospect of a looming primary challenge to him, as Democrats, both liberal and moderates, appear to be fairly content to go into 2024 with the president leading the charge. Okay, let me just stop there. My prediction from I believe, what's the his inauguration? From his inauguration, I said in 2023, my prediction was that Joe Biden will no longer be president at some point during 2023. I stand by that prediction. I stand by that prediction. The laptop story, which the New York Times and I think even the Washington Post have acknowledged, the laptop's real. They've been holding that. They do not want him to run in 2024. This is bluster. And they're going to find a way. That's just it's a prediction. I may be very, 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 very wrong. He could possibly live and last and be in the presidency to run for president again in 2024. I ain't betting on it. There's going to be something, either illness or something, some scandal of Nixonian proportions. But I don't think he'll be here to run in 2024. But they continue, perhaps most important for Biden's hopes of re-election. He has largely consolidated, we already said that, traditionally incumbents who have strong support within their own party and don't face a primary challenge are a strong bet for re-election. Donald Trump in 2020 is the exception. Well, Donald Trump had the entire media and social media and the entire everybody against him except for the voters. But you know what? Some forces are just more powerful. So what turned Biden's fortunes upwards? It was a combination of luck, Republican extremism, and an incumbent president who is better at politics than many political observers are inclined to acknowledge. Is he now? Well, he's got a great staff, let's put it that way. Often in politics and life, it is better to be lucky than good. Well, I'll give him that. And 2022 is an object lesson in that phenomenon. When the Supreme Court decided in June to scrap 50 years of legal precedent and overturn the constitutional protection of abortion rights, which they can't find in the Constitution, it was a disaster for American women. Has it been? I don't know. But politically, it threw the Democratic Party a lifeline. Well, Lindsey Graham did with proposing a federal law. But anyway, the issue boosted Democrat prospects in a handful of crucial states, particularly in Michigan and Pennsylvania. More broadly, it was a reliable cause to rally Democratic activists, true. And for Biden, it undoubtedly will be the crucial element of his reelection campaign, which I don't believe will exist. An even bigger break for Democrats came from their opponents. Republicans picked one Trump-loving, MAGA-embracing, election-denying, extremist political neophyte after another, from Kari Lake to Doug Mastriano and Blake Masters to Mehmet Oz, Don Bolduc, and Herschel Walker, with predictable results. Yeah, the predictable results that Mitch McConnell did nothing to help any of those candidates. Instead, he decided to bolster a campaign against a Republican in Alaska who was much more favorable than what's-her-face anyway. Nor is the problem going away for Republicans, as demonstrated by Kevin McCarthy's so far ineffectual efforts to persuade the most extreme House Republicans to back his bid for Speaker. Yes, see, the establishment and deep state would love to have Kevin McCarthy as the Speaker because, you know, he's worried about what they say about him on MSNBC. Indeed, as House Republicans likely pursue investigations of Biden's son Hunter, hold the debt limit hostage to demanding cuts to popular social insurance programs. No. Just all the other bullshit. They haven't, oh my God, such as Social Security and Medicare, or open impeachment proceedings of White House officials, including possibly Biden himself. The president can spend the next 2 years providing a stark adult contrast. Yes, like the adult films his son star in. It's the latter that is likely Biden's strongest political asset. Outside of the conservative fever swamp, Biden is not a polarizing figure. Really? Really? Have you listened to his speeches? Have you listened to him talk? Some of the shit he says. Over the past 2 years, he's followed through repeatedly on his pledge to work across the aisle with Republicans. First, there was last year's infrastructure bill. There's an infrastructure bill every year. This year brought even more bipartisan achievements on gun control, same-sex marriage, veterans health care, investments in the U.S. semiconductor industry, and military aid to Ukraine. Yay. Yet at the same time, Biden has kept his liberal base content. The bipartisan achievements, yes, you got Lisa Murkowski and Susan Collins and Mitt Romney and all the so-called Republicans that will go along with some Biden's bullshit. That's what they mean. And that stupid, this last bill, this budget omnibus bill, 18 Republican senators just wanted to get out of Washington instead of fight. Whatever. Thank you, Gun Fox. Driving a small bullet at the tip jar says, Marty, I'm sure Pedo Joe has a great staff that all the child are set to enjoy. Remember, he and Bill had VIP Lola trips to the island every weekend. Now the island fly to him. Yeah, I bet he has a great staff. Thank you, Gun Fox. I know it. I know it. Okay. You got me. Special Cat Acid, what's up? Anyway, all right. So yet at the same time, Biden has kept his liberal base content. The decision this August to forgive tens of thousands of dollars in student debt was a priority of the party's liberal wing. He has also aggressively moved to stock federal courts with judges, including historic appointments to the Supreme Court's first black female justice, another 2020 campaign promise. Yes, he chose by sex and race to appoint justice. And earlier this fall, he issued blanket pardons for thousands of people prosecuted for possessing marijuana, which I'm fine with that one. But the idea that first of all, the student debt relief, the courts are saying, just admit it there, bucko. Everyone knows that's not constitutional. Anyway, in short, Biden has threaded the needle of appeasing, even thrilling his liberal supporters, while at the same time playing to the persuadable middle of the American electorate. Republicans will continue to attack him as an extreme beholden to his liberal supporters, but there's good reason to think that political strategy won't work. Quite simply, it doesn't mesh with Biden's first 2 years in office. God. Because the media won't tell you what they actually do. Holy shit. In general, and Republicans in general are going to have a hard time making the case that another party is more extreme than them. Heading into 2024, that might be the best thing going for Biden. For all the anger directed at Trump by Republican leaders, the former president remains the favorite to emerge from a crowded Republican field. But it's very hard to imagine a scenario in which Trump, as the GOP nominee, can overcome his deep and abiding unpopularity with non-MAGA Americans in the general election. His main rival, Ron DeSantis, is spending his time trying to win over the GOP's increasingly prominent anti-vaccine wing. Oh no, anti-vaccine wing! And lest we forget, the Florida governor's midterm endorsement didn't fare much better than Trump's. Trump was like, the House endorsements, he was fine. It was just the Senate endorsements. Oh my God. Anyway, one has to squint very hard to look at the 2022 midterms and the electorate's rejection of election denialism, anti-trans and anti-LGBTQ attacks. Do you really think that had a huge impact on the election? Holy shit. And anti-woke messaging to conclude that the country is clamoring for a DeSantis presidency. Was this written by Joy Reid? Holy shit. Of course, a lot can happen in the next 2 years, but one thing is clear. Biden's deft 2022 and glaring shortcomings of his political rivals put him squarely in the catbird seat to win in 2024 when Joe Biden isn't going to be running for president again. I'm just saying. That's my own little addition to that. So anyway, that glowing review is special. All right. Now, I do have one other thing that I'm not going to do today, even though the name of the stream is that, and that is the Twitter files. Okay. So a new Twitter files came out this morning. And it's how Twitter rigged the COVID debate. So I'm going to do that probably as a separate stream, perhaps later the day, unless there's someone out there doing it and I might join their stream. I will let you know via locals though. So if you have not gone to my locals page, which is right here, where I do announce things that I'm doing in different places, you can go here. You can follow me there without being a member. Although if you want to support the channel, this is probably my preferred way you do it. Even more than super chats, it would be helpful if people just, it's $5 a month to support, or you can do more if you want. But and this will get you the new. This will get you any updates to anything I'm doing, whether it's on my channel or somewhere else. Also, I'm going to be doing some, starting at the beginning of the year, I will be doing some exclusive streams just on here where you can watch them even if you're not a supporter, but if you can participate in the chat and other things if you do become a supporter. And then like I said, I'll do some exclusive live streams here, and I'll probably write a few articles that'll go here that are going to be exclusive to locals. So this is the best way to support the channel if you can. So I would greatly appreciate that. But on that note, it's time for me to close this stream down. Thank you all for joining me today on the Morning Night Live. If you haven't done so already, hit the like button, share the stream. If you want to sponsor the show, pdognight.live, 24 hours a day, super chats, Venmo, Cash App, all that information is in the description down below. And finally, if you want to read some of these articles on your own or read the full articles, I will have them in the links, as I will update that link in the description during the outro. That's it for this show, ladies and gentlemen. I gotta go. My name is P. Dawg Knight, and I'm out of here. Oh, the Gunfox news streams on locals. Oh, maybe I could do that. Yeah, the locals is where you can, that chat is completely unrestricted, and sometimes I might have to use that chat. But anyway, I gotta go. My name is P. Dawg Knight, and I'm out of here. Bye-bye. Hey, this is P. Dawg Knight, and thank you for watching today on the P. Dawg Knight channel. If you have an observation or remark you'd like to make about this video or my channel, I absolutely welcome you to write it in the comment section down below. I really look forward to hearing from you. And before you go, if you like what you saw but you're not already subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and definitely click that bell that pops up afterwards so you'll be notified when I post new videos or when we go live. I broadcast my live show, The Morning Night Live, Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. A special thank you to all the supporters of this channel who share our videos on social media and who make donations through Streamlabs, YouTube, Venmo, and Cash App, which are all linked in the description down below. Thanks again, and until next time, I'm P. Dawg Knight, and I'm out of here.